Good. So let's say a little bit about you before, so people can know who you are, more or less. Like I've heard that you've done some meditative practice before, but also that you've been in a high position in corporate world. Or yeah.
For probably 24 years, I was in the corporate world. A good part of that with Fortune 500 companies, mostly AT&T and Lucent when manufacturing and Bell Labs broke off from the long distance portion. And you'd think with what I do now that I was probably in human resources or something, but I wasn't. I was like in business operations, or I had global purchasing, or I bought discrete semiconductors for all the US factories. I did jobs like that. So I was really immersed in the business part of it all. And yeah, I loved it. And at some point, it was something spiritual in me. It had always been there, but it woke up in another way. I read Autobiography of a Yogi and went, okay, I'm going to meditate. I'm just going to learn to meditate. And I just went into it hardcore, like every morning, same time, same amount of time every morning. And for like 3 months, it was like, I'm just going to sit here, nothing's happening. And then it just started to, something woke up in me. Oh, that word, my gosh, it's gotten to have such a stigma, but it was just, it became magical. And so I ended up going to a meditation school in Australia and training there at their invitation for 6 months. And yeah, doing a lot of things. And at some point that led me to become a coach, to leave business altogether in the sense that I had done it in, and to become a life coach. And for a while, I didn't want business clients. I only wanted to work with people that wanted to work on their personal lives. And then I had my first business client, and it was such a synergy. It was so joyful. So now I do both. And circling came in at some point, and it was a whole nother field, a whole nother way of doing meditation. It was a missing piece in a lot of ways for me.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. How did you meet circling? How did it arrive in your life?
My friend Shara, who you know, who is a facilitator with Circle Anywhere. She was, and I didn't know her that well at the time, and she was gathering a group of people to come and do this practice that she just loved, that Jordan Miska-Allen was going to be leading. It was in Dallas, and it was just a meetup. And it was the most diverse group of people you've ever seen. We had everything from hippies to suits there, and there must have been 40 people in the room. And Jordan's the only person that was a facilitator that was there, and it was a wild night. But all I kept looking at was Jordan's way of being, and I went, whatever that guy has, I want. I'd come into the night going, oh my God, this is going to be so confrontational, and I can only do this, I can do anything for 2 hours, and I'll have done a favor for Shara. And I left going, well, I just have to do this, and I don't even know why.
Can you say more about what is it that you saw in Jordan?
There was a comfort in his own skin uh, in the midst of what would be a really stressful situation, I thought. And presence, that thing that we're drawn to. We're drawn to people who are present. I went home at Christmas and I realized animals are drawn to presence. You know, they just look at you, you know. They know that they're present, and they recognize presence. Babies recognize presence. It's incredibly attractive.
For how long have you been facilitating now? Do you know?
Facilitating, let's see, probably since I started doing the practice in 2015. I started facilitating, I think, perhaps in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So for 4.5, 5 years, somewhere in there.
Beautiful. Could you tell us one of your most important memory?
Of circling.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing I want to tell you about was really subtle. It didn't look like this big thing. And I think that's the beauty, is that circling is one of those things that you're doing it and you don't think anything's changing or whatever. It just seems like you just keep doing this thing. And then there are these moments where there's this shift. So let me quit talking about it and let me just tell you what it was. We did a weekend of circling, like a Friday night, a Saturday, and a Sunday. And actually, Jordan and Shara were, there's about 13 of us in the room, and Jordan and Shara were talking with the group, but they just looked at each other, right? In this way that was rather disconcerting. And I was sitting there going, I will never be as close to either one of them as they are to each other. Mm. And feeling just this sadness. And all of a sudden, both of them just turned and looked at me. And it's like, are you angry? I'm like, no. And then I kind of was put on guard, and I said, actually, I was realizing that I'll never be as close to either one of you as you are to each other. And Jordan said something about that I was probably disappointed in him, or I imagined I was disappointed in him a lot. And I went, no, I'm settling for being disappointed. And something clicked. That being resigned thing that had followed me my whole life suddenly had been stated and seen. And I just went into some amazing place that I stayed in for 3 months, where I just saw the beauty in human beings, and I felt myself in a completely different way. And after 3 months, it kind of absorbed into my system, and I came back to a normal place. But that accepting, that seeing, like putting it in my hand, that sense of resignation of, oh, I'm never going to have this, I can't have that, right? That my way of relating to things that put me in that place, seeing that and being freed from that has got to be one of the best moments for me in circling. For me in my life, actually. Circling is a means to life.
Love this memory, and inspired me to ask you a question that it was especially for you. It was Becky who asked. It was around the benefit that you would think that businesses or corporate world would find in practicing circling.
Yeah. There are many. Being a leader, being a really good leader, requires a lot of different skills. And none of them are more important than emotional intelligence. The ability to speak the truth in a way that can be heard, to receive the harshest feedback, and be able to take in what's true in it, and not be bent over and crippled by the harshness of it, but to find what's true and useful and take it in and use it, so that giving and receiving feedback and that is also around a lack of defensiveness, just being such a lover of truth, and from acting there and being able to act on what's happening in the company and what's happening with your team, and being able to have real conversations. Susan Scott, in one of her books, said that she asked somebody about the demise of their corporation, and she said, "How did it happen?" And he said, "Slowly, and then suddenly, one conversation at a time." So all of the missed conversations, all of the conversations that weren't about what's really going on, that didn't take the company forward. Those are the things that this practice brings: presence, the ability to speak what's true, and the ability to take in what's being offered to you by other people, the ability to see your blind spots. That's a big thing in business, is people not, or either they hint at your blind spots and you don't want to hear it, and so they quit talking to you about it at some point, right? But that having those reflected back and being able to take in what you can't see, but when someone reflects it, you go, that is what I'm doing. Oh my gosh, right? That ability to be present to what's happening in the reader room, reader group, in a meeting, to be able to make that an alive meeting by the fact that you're so in with these people and you're noticing their expressions and you're noticing what's happening and you're helping facilitate that team being a team. I could go on forever.
Yeah, I can feel your passion in it. It's amazing. What I'm curious about, like, what inspires you lately, or who inspires you?
Oof. It's interesting. Yesterday, I was inspired by somebody that's so new to circling. I mean, they're just brand new. And they were talking about how unbelievably powerful it is to put words to something, and how it changed everything to be able to put words to it. But they just started doing circling, and they'd gone to an intro event, and and really felt kind of afraid. It was like I was supposed to say what I imagined about somebody, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't imagine anything about them. And I went, oh, you're built like me. 'Cause I used to be that way, right? And this is like being in a gym. And you just bring what's true for you, which is, I can't imagine anything right now. Because you're still revealing you, right? And that's all you have to do is bring you. And for some reason, she burst into tears, and it brought tears to me. I said, you know, this is this thing you love, this ability to put words to something. This is where you build that muscle. It's like you're lifting weights to be better at putting words to this blurry thing that you're in, right? Or that thing you feel that's going on and you don't know exactly what it is, and being able to ferret out, oh, this is it, right? At the moment, that simple thing is inspiring me because I find it to be profound. I don't feel I'm giving it justice.
I guess those moments then need to be experienced to really feel how it's like.
Yeah, the closer I can get to speaking what's true, the more alive I am. But it takes work to be able to speak what's true, to find it and then to find the words. But you know what, when it happens, and it just brings me closer to being alive.
What would you say to a new circler or someone that is never practiced and just enter the circling world? What would you want to tell him or her?
Yeah, to bring what they have, not what they think they're supposed to have. Like the thing you think you're supposed to say, bring what's here. Like if somebody, okay, tell somebody what you imagine to be true about them, and you're blank. Then you go, I'm blank. I realize I can't imagine anything. Like bring what's true. To not try to be what it looks like you're supposed to say. To go, this is what's true. They say, how does your body feel? And for me, I was like, I can't feel my body. And I didn't know I could say that. Right? The truest thing. Right? That's the way in. It's sort of like Marcus Aurelius with the obstacle is the way. The thing that's here is your way in to this practice being extraordinary for you. It's just being able to speak to what's actually here in the moment. And that's very tough, and it's very simple all at the same time. And that will never be any less true, no matter how far you go in this practice. That is the way.
Yeah, that echoes to the following questions, which is from someone who knows you very well too, who asked, like, what makes you so light and elegant around darkness and pain?
Oh. Oh. You know that saying that your wound is your blessing? Well, I think that that's extraordinarily true. Like the darkness that I have experienced is where my light comes from. I don't know exactly how that works, but I know that it's true. And that experience feels like grace and humility and gratitude, which just makes the light lighter. Yeah. And I'm amazed at how darkness and light sit right next to each other. It's like sorrow and joy. They sit right next to each other. Did you find that true?
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a question that I didn't ask you that you would have want me to ask you?
Let's see. Someone has suggested that you ask, what historical figure would you like to uh, talk with? And I just sat there for a minute and I went, I think most of the really amazing people, but they're amazing because they fully expressed while they were here. And so we have their books, we have their tapes, we have all of these things that, you know, actually the essence of them is here for us to just pick up anytime we choose, right? Uh, and that's what made them amazing, is that they fully expressed in this life. But I went, I think if I could, I would like to talk to people who failed. Like really failed. And what it's like after this life. Right? Does it still look like failure? What's it like over there after that? So and and I kind of thought I'd like to talk to Jesus, and then I'm trying to picture talking to Jesus and how I would be probably speechless and there would be nothing to ask in that moment. But I imagine Jesus is misunderstood and completely understood all at the same time. And so there.
If you could circle someone famous or a celebrity, who would it be? Who would be the one you would be like really fascinated about circling?
I can't think of anybody.
Mm.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody. I think it goes back to those famous people tend to express. They tend to offer themselves to us through their art, through their sport, uh, through their books. Uh, in some ways, I imagine that I don't know that that's always true. You know, Dostoevsky said, you know, if I finish Brothers Karamazov, then I will die happy because I will have expressed myself completely.
Mm.
And I get that from people who are famous is they have expressed themselves completely. And so in that way I go, this probably isn't true. It'd probably be fascinating to circle some of them, but in the moment, I don't have a lot of blanks because I feel that they fully express
Mm.
in some way that I aspire to. I aspire to express. It's Wayne Dyer said, don't die with the music left in you." And that challenge of bringing what's in us that life wants to express through us, right? Bringing that out is something I aspire to.